Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Thursday, January the 2nd, 2025. Now I've got to get used to saying that, 25. Isn't it funny, like this time every year, we've got to get used to saying the year, writing the year. It's always a challenge, but I think within a couple of weeks we'll all be okay. Not a lot happening in boxing the last sort of 24 hours, as you've probably seen if you scour the sites like I do. So today I thought, well, with the new year, everyone's optimism about their football team starts at the start of the year. Everyone's thoughts turn from Christmas and New Year into the footy season, when it's all going to start. Now, apologies if you're not going to, or if you're not a football fan, whether it be AFL, NRL or whatever, particularly an AFL fan, because today I'm going to tell you a story. And it relates to, you can see there, I've got the Carlton Football Club hat on, or cap. And I want to tell you about the year that I was the boxing coach at the Carlton Football Club. Yes, the club I've supported since a little tacker, and I had the fortune of being the boxing coach back in 2008. Now, it's probably one of those sort of privileges, I suppose, that you would probably pay to do, but I was lucky enough to be employed by the Carlton Football Club to take the boys through their paces twice a week, and then on match days as well. Just going to grab him here. And again, apologies if you're not an AFL fan or you wanted a boxing story. Well, this is boxing story, but again, I thought I would let you know all about it. So I started, the way I actually got the job, it was quite unique, because back, it was 2007 when I was actually employed, but I actually went to the Crown Casino and was part of the Shane Warne poker tournament they used to do, and I can't remember how it must have been it was a Carlton Football Club venture, but I can't remember how exactly I found out about it or entered. I just remember being it was a fundraiser for Carlton in conjunction with Shane Warne at the casino. So I got down there, and if you're a poker player, you'll relate to this, but we got our tables and we sat there to play. And the very first hand, I had pocket aces. And what do you do with pocket aces? You have a crack, don't you? So someone decided to have a bit of a go back, and so I went all in with pocket aces and got beaten. Now, there's sometimes the worst. Sometimes they are the worst cards to get, because you think you're invincible and you get beaten. So I was out of the tournament with pocket aces. Just bear with me with this story, by the way. So you had the opportunity to buy back in. So I thought, I'm not coming all the way to Melbourne and sitting here and being out in the very first hand. So I bought back in. And this time played a little bit more conservatively, a little bit smarter, had a little bit of luck as you do, and ended up making it to the final table. And I think Greg Williams, the champion centreman of Carlton Premierships, was the one that actually put me out. So it was a little bit of a consolation there. So anyway, to cut a long story short, by making it to the final table as I did, I won a lunch with the president, Carlton great Stephen Kernahan, and the new coach, the champion Premiership player Brett Ratton, at the Carlton Football Club. So about a week later, I went down. I'm sitting with Stephen Kernahan and Brett Ratton, just two legends of the club, and we just got talking and whatever. I don't even know how it came up, but boxing happened to come up, and I mentioned that I'd been to the Olympics and Commonwealth Games and all. I think one of them might have actually asked about my nose. What happened to your nose? And I said I was a boxer. And anyway, we got talking about it, and it turns out they were both really big boxing fans, and Brett Ratton, being the new coach, was full of excitement and everything. And he said, look, we haven't got a boxing coach next year. Would you maybe be interested in talking to our high performance manager? I said, yeah, all right, yeah, cool, well, as you do. So he said, give me a card. So lucky I had a card on me, and I gave it to him. And on the way home, I got a phone call from a guy by the name of Justin Cordy. He was the high performance manager that's newly appointed as well. So he was trying to get all his ducks in a row, and it just so happened he was a Bendigo boy where I was from, and I actually was in his physical education class at school, if you can believe that. And he said, Lyndon, go mate, I haven't seen him for years, probably 10 years or 15 years, whatever it had been. And we got talking. He said, yeah, look, I'm doing this and doing that. And I said, mate, if I'm in Bendigo next week, how about I come for a coffee? So I did. And we sat down, and he said, look, pretty much, you know, if you want the job, it's yours. So I was employed by him, and I think it was going to be about 2 or 3 weeks later I had to start. So you can imagine the excitement. I got a heap of Carlton gear in the mail just to get me started. You know, the shorts and shirts and hats and tracksuit pants, all that sort of stuff. They fitted me right out, and I must admit, I went down there. I was a little nervous, as you would be, walking into your football club. So I walk in there, and it wasn't as flush as it was today. This is 2008. This is before all, you know, the probably $100 million was spent on the facility down there, and I don't know, it was 100 million, you know what I mean? But it was a lot of money to be spent on the facilities down there that are now state of the art. And I walked in there, and of course I saw a few of the boys sort of walking around. As you do, you get a bit wide-eyed, and I had a meeting with Justin, and he just said, look, you know, this is what I want. And I wasn't quite sure, did you want me to teach them boxing? Did you want me to do boxing? Did you just want boxing training? It was a little bit confusing, but he said, look, just do what you want. So I was going to be down there twice a week, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then it was on match days. And so you can imagine how excited I was. And I went to the property steward, and he said, look, what do you want? Want some more gear? He just loaded me up with all this stuff. And Justin was good. He said, look, what do you need to do the job properly? And I was like, well, we haven't really got a lot to play with here. We literally had nothing, by the way. And all I had to play with as far as the facility goes was an old hot dog vending sort of little store they had in the ground. It was about the size of a big bedroom. It wasn't that, well, maybe a little bit bigger than that, because it had a tiny little ring in it, and that was about it. And if you'd laugh if you'd seen the ring if you're a boxing man, because it was literally a bit of canvas stapled to the floor with 4 posts that had been, I don't know, screwed or something. And I looked at it and went, this ain't going to last as a boxing ring. But hey, they went through the effort to do it. And I said, look, all I need a shitload of boxing gloves, a shitload of pads, and that was about all they could sort of afford. And so I got all the gear, and we started. And what I would do, I would go down, as I said, on a Tuesday and Thursday. I'd do 3 sessions per day. 4 sessions I would do per day, and it would be groups of about sort of 10 players, sort of 8 to 10 players, and I would just do fitness drills and various other sort of exercises. I mean, it's pretty hard, because what would happen is I would get a report from Justin, and it would say this player is restricted and can't do this and can't do that, which got it a little bit tricky, because I'm just going to get Neil here. He's decided to go into someone's yard. Come here, man. Come here. Come here. Get out of there. Jesus, fair dinkum, this dog. Yeah, so it got a little bit tricky, because they would have different injuries. So I would have to do all different sort of, manipulate the training for them. So you might have 8 guys in there with 8 different ailments. One can't run, one can't, he's got a hammy, another one's got a shoulder, someone else. So you're trying to do a training program with, maybe half a dozen guys in the group who can't do exactly what you want, and you've got to modify it for them. It was very frustrating, but they're all good, really good bunch of guys. And it was really good in the pre-season. I got to be in the training group, I suppose. So in the practice matches, I'd be running water and, getting out to the huddles. And it was just a really, really exciting time. It really was. And I was on cloud 9. I was in all the team meetings, in all the, not the real tactical sort of ones between the match committee, but just the general ones with the group. And, and as a Carlton fan, it was really just a dream come true to be sitting in there. And I remember, the guys in between sessions, or even after I'd finished them, they'd be out doing the work on the oval, and I'd go out there and kick a footy around with a few of the boys. Sometimes I'd even take the pads out on the middle of the oval and just pull guys out to do 5 or 10 minutes of quick hard work, and then they'd go back into the group. And sometimes there'd be injured players out there, just wanted to have a chat, do some handball drills, all that sort of stuff. But one of the main things I remember, and if you're a footy fan, especially a Carlton fan, you'll probably relate to this. one of my biggest memories was going down the tunnel where the players used to come from the change rooms and they'd go down. This is old Princess Park, by the way. That's just a training facility now. Come here, buddy. And they don't play games there anymore. Come on. But walking down that tunnel, knowing that all the greats over the last 100 years or something had walked down there, and just you could almost feel the adrenaline, smell the deep heat, all that sort of stuff in there. It was just unbelievable. And to walk out on the ground, it was an immaculate ground, and yeah, it really was just amazing. And I remember it was the first year too, by the way. It was 2008, where it was Brett Ratton's first year. It was Stephen Kernan's first year as the president, but it was also the first year of a player by the name of Chris Judd, and he was the Messiah. He'd come from West Coast, premiership captain a couple of years before. He'd chosen Carlton to go to as his club. He had about 6 or 7 he could have chosen, but he chose Carlton, and it was a new beginning. The fans were up and about. There was big numbers at all the training sessions and the games, and I haven't even got to the games yet, but it was just, yeah, just great to be part of. I remember actually Chris came down, he didn't like boxing, and he did a couple of sessions. Come here, man, yep. And he did a couple of sessions, and one day he came down and he said, Lyndon, he didn't say it nastily or rudely, and he said, Lyndon, this boxing stuff's not for me, mate. So what do you mean? He said, yeah, I just don't like boxing. I just don't think I'll do it anymore. And I never saw him in the gym again. He never came in. He was always friendly and said g'day and all the rest of it, but never boxed again. And this is one of those things with Chris Judd being that Messiah type of player. He could do whatever he wanted to. If he didn't want to do boxing, he didn't have to do boxing. Although he did tell me a story once that was funny. Before, you know, it was 2 or 3 sessions that he did before he decided to pull the pin. He said, oh yeah, I went to the boxing one day at the Reggio Calabria club in Melbourne. That's where the fights used to always be, the amateurs, with one of his mates who was fighting. And he said, we went down there, and this guy, you know, he pumped himself up. He was a bit of a player on the streets, all that sort of stuff. And we went down and he got absolutely demolished. I think he was knocked out by his opponent. and he was just absolutely killing himself laughing because this guy's street cred had gone through the floor pretty much. And he was rolling around the floor with tears running down his face. The way he told it, he thought it was the best story ever. I was like, oh, okay, all right, telling a story about your mate getting knocked out, but he thought it was funny anyway. So, but just getting to know the boys, I mean, that was when Brendan Favola was really at his peak. I remember a practice game one day and he kicked about 12 goals. He got there late, didn't really even warm up, just jogged out and kicked a lazy 12 in the practice match. He was just phenomenal, was the Fev. And then we got to match days. Actually, I'll backtrack a little bit. One thing that really took me back when I got there as well, I was a little bit concerned when I got there. You know how they always say, never meet your heroes. And I sort of saw that as far as the players goes, but also just the Carlton Footy Club in general. And I was hoping I wouldn't get down there and everyone had their heads up their asses and they were arrogant and rude and everything else. But I tell you what, everyone was absolutely fantastic. Everyone was great. The players were really, you got to remember that just young guys are all, you know, just regular young guys, you know, 18 to sort of 30, and you know, all the coaches were great. They used to always come down, the assistant coaches, not so much rats, but the assistants would come down and watch the sessions, and sometimes they put the gloves on and join in the sessions. It was just, and the administrators and everything was great, even to the point with Stephen Kernahan. One day I had a mate who was in Melbourne and he said, oh look, I wouldn't mind coming to, he was a Carlton fan, he said, wouldn't mind coming to work and checking it out. And I said, oh well, I'm not sort of sure I'm allowed to have people in there, but I thought, well, they're out on the oval, no one's really in the rooms, I'll take him in for a quick tour. And as I'm showing him around, I felt a presence at the back of me. I looked around at Stephen Kernahan, the president. He said, what's going on, boys? And I was like, oh shit, here we go, I'm in trouble. And I said, oh, this is my mate. And he ended up, mate, he was so good. He said, hey, what's going on? You know, he ended up showing us around the room and telling some stories about some of the photos on the walls, and just a really, really good guy with sticks. And you couldn't miss his booming voice. Oh yeah, good day, boys. But no, he couldn't be any better, and the whole club. But yeah, on to the match day, and that was one of the benefits of it. Now, I was supposed to actually get down there and take the players, 10 or 15 minutes before the game, get them if they want to do, it was all optional, if they wanted to be hyped up and do it, that was great. But apart from probably half a dozen times during the season, I wasn't used. No one wanted to do it. So what sort of happened, I didn't really care. I was always there before most of the players, by the way. As a fan, I'd get there, I'd have my MCG pass or Marvel Stadium pass, whatever it might be, and I'd get down there super early. I used to love getting there and talking to the property stewards and the assistants, and I was a real fan, if you will. So I'd get down there and I'd kick the ball around with some of the players when they got there, and I'd just be in there while they got their ankles strapped. I was a bit of a, wouldn't say a pest, so it's not like I bothered them, but I was just around. I wanted to see everything and get into the meeting and all that sort of stuff. And because no one really wanted, look, occasionally someone would say, oh, give me a couple of minutes, but I would literally have about 2 minutes to do it, because it was in between when they'd go out for the final warm-up, come back in and pretty much have that 5-minute address. So I'd have that time and there might be one or two that might want to do a quick minute or whatever, but it was really just useless. It wasn't any help whatsoever, but I was there just in case. But I didn't care. I was in the rooms. What would happen when they'd run out, I'd just go up the race and stand on the fence and just watch the game from there, and half time just be, as I said, in the meetings, and just to be part of it was really, really cool. I only did it for the 1 year. It was tough. I had a fair bit going on at the time. I had our business. I had 2 little kids, 3 and 1 at the time, by the way. And Bendigo's it was about an hour and 40 drive. So I was down and back three times a week. I had a gym operating as well, so I had a fair bit going on. So at the end of the year, it was a bit of a mutual decision that I sat down with Justin and said, look, this I can't really do the job. And he said, yeah, right, no drama. We sort of, I won't say butted heads, but we had a difference of opinion of the boxing thing. I was a little bit pissed that I didn't really have much input from him during the year. He just pretty much said, just go do boxing with him. And he never came to any of the sessions and that sort of stuff. So I didn't really have an idea what I was up to. And it was a little bit frustrating sometimes. But all that aside, it was more, and we're still friends to this day, by the way, but it was like, yeah, on top of that, it's getting really tough to get down here. And one story, actually, I didn't tell then. The one session that we actually did proper boxing, and I thought we'll do some body sparring. And I thought about this before, so sorry about that. And all the boys wanted to get in there and actually do some punching. I thought, oh, well, it's a bit of a nothing week. I might have been in a bye or something, so I thought we'll do some body sparring. And it was the only session of the year, and it was the only session that Brett Ratton, the head coach, came down and had a look at. And he came down at exactly the wrong time, because it was Brendan Tavola, the star full forward, probably on $1 million a year, whatever it was. And he was sparring and he hit his opponent, I can't remember who it was, and he went, oh shit, I think I've busted my hand. I was like, oh my God. The star full forward. And end of the day, look, and Brett Ratton just looked at me, didn't say a word and just walked out. I was like, oh shit. Fev went and got his hand x-rayed. It ended up being okay, but I think he might have been out for a week, so I wasn't very popular. I sort of stayed away a little bit from rats, and hence to say that that was the last of the boxing sessions. But anyway, but one last thing. At the end of the year, Fev said to me, he said, and I was actually at the game, by the way, in round 22 or 23, whatever it is, in 2008, when Buddy Franklin kicked his 100th goal, Hawthorn versus Carlton, and that was the day that Fev was stranded on 99 goals. And he kicked 7 goals in the second half. He needed one more to get it. He had a minute or so to get it, and Alistair Clarkson stacked the back line so he couldn't get it. And I've never forgiven that little prick for that anyway. But all that aside, Fev said to me, do you want to come on the footy trip? And I was like, yeah, I'd like to go on the footy trip. So I went to Macau in China with the boys for the end of season trip. There's about a dozen of us that went over there, not the whole group, just a few. And there was Fev, and if you're not a footy fan, I won't reel off all the names, but Fev was the main one. There's guys like Bryce Gibbs, Mark Murphy, a few of the others. But yeah, I went to Macau. Now, I'm not going to spill the beans on what happened over there. Let's just say they were young boys being young boys. There might have been a story of one of the boys or one of the guys knocking themselves out with an ice bucket on their head, going into the bathroom. I had one of the employees come and go, oh, mister, one of your friends here in trouble. So I went into the bathroom, and there's one of them lay down on the ground with an ice bucket stuck on his head, if you can believe that. And I had to wake him up and get him back to his room. And there's a few incidences, but again, I'm not going to spill the beans on all the guys. It's all in confidence. It was, 16 years ago, so yeah, I'm not going to really go into that, but it was a hell of a time to go over there with the boys to Macau, the Las Vegas of Asia, and it was really good to get over there, and we had a lot of fun. What would I have been, in my sort of 30s then? It was tough for an old guy like me. I went out with them for the first night, me and a friend that came with me, and let's just say after that was it for me. I had one night where I was out till about 3 or 4 in the morning, had a few drinks, got up the next day, felt absolutely shocking. So for the rest of the trip, I'd go out for dinner with the boys at 7 o'clock or whatever it is each night, maybe have a drink or two if at the most, and then me and my mate would go off and do some gambling or just do whatever, and then we'd hear the boys come in at about sort of 7 o'clock the next day. I'll tell you what, they had some staying power. You'd hear them get home at about 7 in the morning, and by about 11, they're back by the pool, refueling and ready to go for another day. They go hard. I don't remember when I was that young being such a stayer, but they all were. And one thing I'll say about the players as well, and when you're in there with them, in the training camps or the gyms and everything, how hard they work hard, but the physical condition they're in, and I'm sure rugby league and all that's the same, but these players, what they go through, and to see what they have to do, and it's just a full-time job for these guys. And I know it's obviously a full-time job to get paid big money, but what I mean is they could be at the club for 8 hours. You don't sort of see that. They'll get there in the morning, it might be a meeting, then it might be some boxing, then it might be some myotherapy or massage, or then it might be some skill session, then it might be a weight session, and then it might be another team meeting, and then it might be a meeting with the psychologist or something. So many things that these guys have to do, and it's not just a matter of rolling up for a couple of hours training and going home. No, they're there most of the day. Look, they do get treated like royalty, but then again, they're high-priced assets, aren't they, for the club? The whole club revolves around them, but they're all just really good guys. I don't think there was anyone that I could say that didn't meet my expectations about being a person. They were all just genuine good guys who always came down for a chat. They'd always, just nice guys. And actually, Brendan Favola, when we had our gym up in Bendigo, I think we had a function up there or something. I can't remember what we did, but he actually drove on his day off from Melbourne to Bendigo for the day. So it would have been, g'day, how you doing? Over a 3-hour trip each way. And he went up there and was just there for the opening of, was it an opening or something? I can't remember, but he was there. So it was full respect to him. So yeah, so at the end of the day, just a great experience. One thing I will probably put on it though is that I probably, in hindsight, as much as I enjoyed it, would have liked to have maybe done the job at another club. And I know that sounds silly, but when you're at the club of, your club, I probably spent the first, probably few months sort of stargazing and not maybe being as, I don't know, what would you call it, as hard as I probably needed to be. This is Carlton Football Club, how good is this? If I had gone to one of the other clubs, maybe it just would have been all business and not been a little bit starry-eyed with some of the players and that there. I don't know, but who knows? But end of the day, as I said before, it was probably an experience that I would have paid to actually do, and actually be paid from Carlton to do it, and paid well. It was just a great thing to do, and something I'll look back on very fondly. So, and I think they actually didn't make the finals that year, but I think they made the finals the next 3 years after that. But just a really great time. So anyway, and I still talk to the boys every now and then if I see them around. I get to I'm in the Navy League at Carlton, which is like a coterie group sort of thing, and I saw Jordan Russell there the other week as a forwards coach. He was part of the team that year, and good to chat to him. I've spoken to Fev a couple of times as well as Cade Simpson and a few of the other boys as well. So yeah, as a Carlton fan, a dream come true. So anyway, I thought I would just share that story with you. Again, apologies if you're not a footy fan or a Carlton fan or really don't give a shit, but I just thought that some of you out there might like to hear the story of my year at the Carlton Football Club. So guys, that's going to do it for today. Hope you have a great Thursday, and we'll catch you tomorrow.